At the end of my junior year's spring semester, I moved into a townhouse which I shared with my roommate of 2 years, and a crazy landlady, but that's a story for another day. The washer-dryer at the new place were broken, so I decided to go to a local laundromat after class to wash my work clothes and a couple shirts that I had stolen from my boyfriend. I had classes into the evening, so it was around 9 p.m. at the absolute earliest, and I had to take a bus to get there. A tall man who looked to be anywhere in his 30s or 40s approached me as I was waiting for my laundry load to finish. His looks were average but pleasant, and he had a smooth voice, yet something about him immediately set me on edge. He sat down on the bench beside me and started chatting me up even though I had headphones in. I'm really accustomed to being approached by strangers, whether they are asking for directions, randomly telling me their life story, or just being creepy. This was naturally a case of the latter, but even for a stranger hitting on me, he was giving me really weird vibes. He asked if I lived in the apartments across the street, and if I had family in the area. He asked if I was new to town, which made no sense to me as I live in a massive suburb city of DC, so why would anyone recognize anyone? He kept interjecting to say how cute and adorable I was, and to ask my age, guessing that I was either 18 or 19. I was 21 at the time, but people often think that I'm in high school even now. The fact that he was hitting on me while thinking I was still a barely legal teen made it that much creepier. I didn't tell him where I lived or where I was from, and said that I was getting a load of laundry done for my boyfriend real quick. I lied and said that I lived with him, and that he'd be expecting me home soon. The man then proceeded to say that we could still be friends and offer to take me out or invite me in for dinner. The way he smiled when he said it freaked me out. By now, it had to be at least 10 o'clock, and I was super creeped out, so I firmly said, "No thank you," and I tried to put my headphones back in as obviously as possible. He got up and he disappeared for a while. And then as I transferred my laundry to the dryer, he reappeared and started pacing around the small laundromat, intentionally coming up close behind me. The dryers were located on the back wall of the room, so this made me feel like I was being effectively cut off from the exit. He was strongly built and about 6'3", so he utterly dwarfed me in comparison. I'm only 5'4", and I had been on a break from the gym for most of the semester, so my muscle was rather lacking. As I kept an eye on his reflection, I found myself thinking of every possible route out, and trying to recall the self-defense classes that I had taken back in January until the dryer finished. By the time I was done, he had left. Something in my gut told me not to exit through the main front door, and when I went through the side entrance, I saw him sitting directly in front of the main exit with his driver's side door open and his phone out, as if he was waiting for someone. I called a friend and I booked it to a nearby restaurant where I hid out for at least another hour. I occasionally peeked out of the window to see if he had moved, but he remained there for another 30 minutes. No one ever came to meet him, and a sick feeling in my stomach confirmed my fear that it was me whom he was waiting for. I ordered some Korean fried chicken to go and I called an Uber home. I'm used to having creepy experiences with men, on the metro or when I'm walking down the street, but this felt different than the usual catcalls and following. My body was on high alert and I was so afraid, and embarrassed that I had even gotten myself into that position in the first place. When I got home, I just burst into tears. I never told my boyfriend or my girlfriend about it, and it was months before I ever told my roommate. I recently read a Twitter thread about a girl who almost got trafficked by a guy who was waiting for the subway, and was hit with the realization that my laundromat horror story could have easily been exactly that. At the time, all I could think about was getting away, but now that it's been nearly a year, I realize that this could have easily been a trafficking attempt. I live in a very wealthy DC suburb because of where I go to school, but it is also statistically one of the highest trafficking areas in the country. The way he conducted himself was eerily similar to the other girl's description that I read, and I'm just really thankful that I didn't take that main door. I have no idea what might have happened to me if I did. I've encountered a person that I'll call Window Man that has really messed me up. This happened in the summer of 2018, so about 8 months ago. Some background story to help better understand the situation that I was in and the layout of the apartment. My mom and I moved into this one-bedroom apartment with one of my mom's colleagues for a short period of time. About 3 months to be able to save up some money for another apartment that we currently live in. So the apartment had a small bathroom and shower, a kitchen merged with the living room, a small room separated by a sliding door and a windowed balcony. We lived on the first floor, and even I, being the short 5'4" girl, managed to climb up into the window when I forgot my keys at home. Anyways, since the colleague needed some privacy, she chose to live in the small room. My mom would sleep on the couch in the living room, and I would sleep on the balcony on a mattress. Now when I would lay on my mattress, from my point of view, I would see the living room and the couch on my right, and the windows on my left, though there was some behind me that I wasn't really able to see. Anyway, now to the actual story. We moved in. Everything was going great for the first month or so. I felt quite safe, even though I was very suspicious from the start of the window since we lived on the first floor. And I should mention that I've never experienced anything paranormal, nor have I had sleep paralysis before. So, one night I wake up, or at least I think so. I can't move. I can only blink my eyes and move my head. I look over to the windows and see what looks like a third of a man's head, and a hand peeking through the window. I tried to scream and get up, but I couldn't move or do anything. I was so terrified. I saw the man slowly closing the window as if he was trying not to make a sound and lowering his head, as if he were leaving. I was freaking out, but I still couldn't move. I saw my mom on my right, sleeping on the couch, and on my left hand was hanging off the mattress and my cat was headbutting it, as if he was trying to wake me up. I tried to scream again a few times, but it doesn't work. I'm hysterical at this point and I feel tears welling up in my eyes. Suddenly, I wake up. I shoot up from my bed. My cat's still next to the mattress and my mom's still on the couch, sleeping in the same position that I've seen her in. I look at the window panicking, and it's locked from the inside, just like I left it before going to sleep. I unlocked it and opened it, making sure that there's nobody outside. I close and lock the window and lay back down, sobbing. I just cried myself to sleep that night. A few days later, I've decided to tell my mom about the dream. I didn't want to at first because I thought that she wouldn't pay much attention to it. But since it had me so on edge, I told her, and just as I expected, she told me that I've been listening to too many horror stories and didn't take me too seriously. After maybe a week, I forgot about the dream and I moved on. And then one evening, everything was going fine. I was preparing myself for the next day since I had to do a big presentation in front of the entire class, and I wanted to look my best. It was about midnight. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep as usual. My mom was still up on her phone, but about to go to sleep too. I doze off peacefully. Suddenly, I wake up for no reason and have the massive urge to look behind me at the windows. To my horror, I saw the tall man in the window, about halfway in, with one leg almost on the floor. I panicked and thought that I was dreaming again, but quickly realized that I can move, so no, I wasn't dreaming. Still being in a state of fear and confusion, I whispered, "What the heck?" And to my complete horror, the man looked up, all dark but eyes shining in the moonlight, and put on the creepiest ear-to-ear grin, put a finger on his lips and said, "Shh," in the most menacing way ever. I had no idea what to say, so I said louder, "What the heck?" And then I jumped up and started screaming like a banshee. The guy got startled and almost fell back, so I took the opportunity and closed and locked the window just as he was about to try to get back in. My screaming woke my mom up and she ran up asking what had happened. I started nervously explaining all that happened, and then we saw the dude climb up to our window again, but the one right next to me trying to open it. As I saw that, I screamed even louder, and as he was opening it, I pushed him and he fell down, calling me every name under the sun. He then tried to make up some crappy excuse, but in a panic state, I started yelling at him at the top of my lungs to get the heck out. I kept on yelling for about 5 minutes like a total crazy person, until the guy finally said something along the lines of, "Fine then," almost as if I was obliged to let him in, and started walking away. I slammed all the windows shut and locked them, sat down on my mattress and proceeded to sob loudly as my mom was next to me, trying to calm me down. We thought that was it, but a few minutes later I saw him again, climbing up our balcony and started screaming again, opening one of the windows and yelled so loud that I almost lost my voice. I closed and locked the window, and my mom and I went to the guard to tell them what happened. I described the man to him as best as I could, but since it was dark, I couldn't say much about his appearance. He told us just to go home and stay calm, and that he would handle the situation. When we were going back, we saw about 8 neighbors of ours standing outside wondering what had happened. They all gave us sympathetic looks as we went back home. My mom gave me some medicine to help me calm down, and I was crying and shaking vigorously for about an hour, until I was finally so exhausted that I just went to sleep with her, since I didn't want to sleep on the balcony anymore. The next day, I showed up to school looking like trash, and when I told someone what had happened, they either didn't believe me or they would brush it off saying, "It's fine, you're alright now." After a few days, my mom confronted me about it and said that she was sorry that she didn't take my dream seriously, though I wasn't mad at all, just shocked. She said that she was just about to fall asleep but woke up to me screaming. She said that my screams were the most blood-curdling ones that she had heard in her life. But the scariest part is that I woke up for no reason. I just had the massive urge to look back. There was absolutely no noise when the man opened the window and was climbing in. I even asked my mother if she heard anything, and she said that no, it was absolutely silent. Who knows what the man would have done if I hadn't woken up, though I'm glad I didn't have to find out. The fact that also really shook me is that I had a dream of something similar happening about 3 weeks before it actually happened in real life. Though sadly, I don't know what happened to that man, if he was arrested or not. We never saw him again. But either way, I'm just glad that we moved out of that apartment sooner rather than later. I live in a relatively safe city in Scotland, though I have had several really odd or scary encounters since I moved here 4 years ago. I'm a short, 29-year-old woman, and I work in a pub, so I often get out of work late. On the weekends, I usually head home around 2 a.m. I never wear my headphones when headed home at night, so this particular night was no different than usual. Alarm set, doors locked and checked, said goodbye to my colleague, and then we went our separate ways to get home. I usually cross a grocery store car park to get home. It's well lit, and that night something struck me as odd. There were a couple of cars that were parked there, which is normal, but something just felt off. I looked over my shoulder and clocked a guy in a hat walking a distance behind me. This wasn't weird, but I decided to keep an eye on him nonetheless. I exited the car park to the main road that I lived off of, but still, I had a good mile or so to go before I reached my flat. I checked over my shoulder again, and sure enough, this guy was walking the same direction as me. The distance between us was starting to close, so I decided to cross the road. I usually did at this point anyway. Looking over my shoulder, I was able to not only look for traffic coming, but was also able to keep an eye on him. I crossed the road and didn't bother to look back for a few minutes, assuming that he had stayed on the other side. But I began to hear footsteps approaching. I glanced over my shoulder and saw this guy was about 20 feet behind me. I had a soft drink and a glass bottle in my bag, and figuring I was overreacting, but better safe than sorry, I stuck my hand into the bag and I gripped the bottle. Another 45 seconds and this guy was close enough to touch me. but he slows to my pace and says, "Hello, how are you?" I ignore him and I don't respond. I long ago gave up on pretenses of being polite if I feel uncomfortable. A stranger's feelings matter less than my feeling of safety in any given situation. But he persists in talking to me. "Hey, are you going to work?" "No." I was being short with him. "Are you going home?" "Yes," I said coldly. "Do you live in this direction?" I just looked at him. He tried again. "Do you live off of this road? Where do you live? Do you live close by?" I didn't respond and slowed my pace, letting him walk on. I was still gripping the glass bottle, ready to hit him with it should he try anything. He tried to slow down so I would catch up with him, but I slowed down so much that I was barely walking. He was maybe 300 yards away at this point, and he simply stopped and turned around, watching me and waiting for him to catch up with me. I reached into my pocket with my free hand and I tried my phone. Of course my phone was dead. I figured it would last the walk home, but my dodgy battery had other ideas. Surprisingly though, I wasn't afraid. He had started walking again, but still quite slowly. He looked over his shoulder again after another minute, and I seized the opportunity. There is a path to a block of flats that was obscured by tall hedges, so I leapt behind them. I waited for nearly 10 minutes, never letting go of that bottle the entire time. I peeked around the hedges to make sure that he was there. I peeked behind bins and bus stops to make sure that he wasn't hiding in wait. But as far as I could tell, I had lost him. Maybe he didn't mean anything by this, but if you suspect a woman is afraid of you and she was walking alone at night, don't speak to her, it will not help. Especially don't ask her where she lives repeatedly. I was not drunk. I did not appear to be drunk or need any help. I was just walking home as I ordinarily would. I am, however, inclined to believe that he had bad intentions. I would rather be too cautious than not. My story begins in the summer of 2012. The first encounter happens before I'm leaving to go out of town for a summer study program. At the time, my mom didn't have AC, which meant that we would leave the front door open as we watched TV before bed. Not smart, but the breeze was nice and we were naive. My friend was over and she was coming to drop me off and we fell asleep, with the door open. We both woke up and discussed how we had weird dreams of a large man walking through the house. That's all we remember. The next thing you know, my friend is missing cash and cigarettes. Now, no one in the house smokes. It was my mom, my sister, and I. And we destroyed the house searching for both cash and cigs. We were terrified to tell my mom that we had forgot to shut the door. And my mom felt awful that my friend's cash went missing, so replaced it and we just forgot about it. I returned from the program about 2 months later. I was in my room, it was around 2 a.m., and my mom habitually fell asleep on the living room floor after working a long shift. I was texting a friend about a fight I was having with my boyfriend at the time, and then I hear something odd. My mom has jingles on the back door at this time, and now forever, because my sister and I at the time would sneak out and it's how she would catch us. I listen to the jingle start shaking, and I realize the back door is opening and closing. I start to freeze and I text my friend. I think someone just walked into my house. Now my mom's house is a ranch in a suburb. A small, cozy house and you learn everyone's footsteps. My mom's are light, quick and shuffled. The person walking through my house from the back door has heavy steps and they're trying to be quiet. I hear them open, look through the drawer, scatter metal in the kitchen. I worry. Did they just try to search for a knife? I don't have the courage to scream or face the culprit. I text my friend to call 911 immediately. She thinks I'm teasing or being dramatic. I stop texting and listen to the person go into my sister's room, and it's next to mine, and I can see in my window that they had flipped on her lights for what felt like forever. Thankfully, she was at her friend's having a sleepover. I began to worry that they were going to open my door and come in my room next. They didn't. This whole time, my heart is racing and I'm frozen. They walk over to the living room where my mom is still asleep on the floor. And from what I remember, I think they just watched her. Eventually, they left. I immediately call my mom, who was feet away from me, and ask if it was just her walking around. She asked what? I immediately start to have a panic attack, screamed for her to run to my room, and frantically explained what happened. Finally, the police department called me because my friend did call them and ask if everything is okay. I shout on the phone what happened, and they sent over the police. The police did a search around my house and saw footprints in the mud right outside of my bedroom window. They also asked if my mom and sister and I had partners or exes that may want to stalk us. We all hadn't at the time. I did admit to what had happened 2 months prior, and it could have been the same person preying on us. We were all so freaked out about the incident, but it doesn't end there. Months later, my mom again has fallen asleep with the TV on in the living room. By now, we have a paranoid system of making sure the doors and windows are all locked. We have thick window curtains too, but sometimes with the sun setting, you forget to put them down. My mom is half awake watching TV when she noticed a reflection in the window. She stares at it and thinks it's the TV glare, and then it waves at her. All of a sudden, I hear her screaming and stomping out the door. I chase after her. She is out the door, chasing a giant white van. The culprit got away, and my mom chased them. I had to yell at my mom that it probably was not the smartest to 1. Call the police immediately, 2. Open your door to them, and 3. Chase after her without any protection because who knows. But luckily, they left her alone. We never found out who it was, and since then, we have never had another incident that we know of. But whenever I visit home, there's always that eerie, unspoken paranoia. This story happened when my best friend and I were about 15 years old. We had to take an important exam at the end of the year, so we attended some private sessions in order to prepare. Because of this, we could only hang out on Saturdays after 5 p.m. We were at the mall, and after a bit of window shopping, she asked me to come outside in the park so we could smoke a cigarette. She had took it from her mother, but I didn't smoke and I never liked it. I accepted it as I was used to her requirement. So, we were in the mall's park, walking while she was smoking that cigarette. It was like 6 p.m., but it was already dark outside, as this happened in the wintertime. Let me describe you the place where we were. This was a large park, full of trees and big, rectangular-shaped bushes. On the side aisle, there were some restaurants, a full 10-meter gap, an exit to a dark street, and to the parking lot. Another big space and a place for skating. We thought that we were 100% safe, as we were still walking on the mall's property. We arrived near that strange exit, when a man approaches us and asks for a cigarette. My friend tells him that she doesn't have any other cigarettes, because she got it from someone else too. He seemed to be in his late 40s, was unshaved and wearing a red hood which almost covered his eyes. I tell him that we have to go, to which he responds with some incoherent words. We both knew that something was off, so we made some steps back. "Why are you so scared? I won't do anything to you," he said as he was approaching. Silence. "Don't worry, I've met a lot of girls like you," he said, and then he started to mumble other words that I couldn't understand. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know if he had any weapons. Behind us was a big bush. In front of us was him. If we chose to run in different directions, he would be able to catch at least one of us and probably take her with him. There weren't many people, but the ones who were passing by didn't seem to care about our terrified looks. My friend kept repeating that we were sorry and that we couldn't help him, and I think one of the people walking by heard her. Fortunately, another man who looked a lot more younger and stronger than the creep stopped and asked him why he was bothering us, but he wasn't given any response. My friend took the chance, crushed her cigarette with her foot as quickly as possible and started running. I, as a complete idiot, remained frozen a few more seconds and I looked in our savior's eyes, and then I started sprinting. We didn't stop running until we were sure that they couldn't see us anymore. Both of them left and we got back into the mall safely, and we never told anyone about this encounter. So, the creep from the mall, please, let's not meet again.